Hi, folks. It is Friday night. It is time for a live. Just kidding. It is Monday only. The lights are on in here, by the way.
It's not Friday night.
No, I know it's not Friday night. I was joking. Welcome to another live Q&A. I am indeed back. I don't know if I'm 100% back, but I'm back. Yeah, it's been a long week. Let's just say that. Thank you for Jason for covering on Friday for news update, and then on Friday as well for the live. I was feeling better on Friday, and then whatever, Saturday, Sunday, it's not great. So, but I'm here to answer all of your questions. I cannot guarantee the accuracy or the speed at which I will answer all your questions today, but we're going to give it a try. Let's say hi to somebody. Get mad last week because I took too long to say hi to people in the chat. And that was after the replay, when they were watching the replay. I was like, just double tap on the right side of the screen. Greg will speak quicker. But I will continue to say hi to all of our fervent followers that join us every single week. I already see names that are very familiar. Thorold Inspired, always number one, leaving a comment in here. Richard Hooker, Shane Canty is here, Super 8mm1. Dr. Kenneth Noisewater, we have Tim Voice on Road Games 8000. Don't think I have seen this name, but join us. Welcome. Our good friend from Boston, Engineer Drone Services, that's Minot. We have Stephen Gilbert. We have Northern Drone Guy here every week as well. Old Deadeye, very familiar name. Drone Service Provider Alliance, that's our friend Vic. Welcome, Vic. He's early, that's right. Vic is early this time. We have After Us Media, Rick Hone. We have Travis Cheney, Buzz Dixon, Work Media, Douglas Gold. We have Scott Jordan, Chris Mull. Art is here. Douglas, I just said that. None of Your Business is here. We have Aerial Nation Production, Chris Ritchie, probably a friend with Scott Ritchie, who's here in the office. TN Writer, we have Jillian, our own Jillian from the community. What's up, Jillian? Missed you guys on Friday, but you guys did a good job. I was I was in the chat kind of hovering. I was on my massage chair massaging my neck. That was killing me as I was listening to you guys. So not much better to do than to watch you guys talk about drones. Curtis Warren is here. We have Jill Ormini is here. I said Curtis twice. Michael Tracy is here. Okay. A lot of folks. Thanks for joining. It is cold in Centennial, Colorado. Yeah, you know what? I don't know what is going on with the weather here in Arizona, but it has been pretty mild all December. Man, we've had barely a freezing night in December, and we usually get a ton of snow already in December, but no snow yet. No really cold weather, although it is coming. I think this week we're going to be in the 40s, but we were in the 60s, sometimes even like the low 70s last couple of weeks during the day, which is just insane for this part of the country this time of year. So, but you know what? We'll take it. I'm sure we will. Excuse me. We will pay for it at one point, probably in March, with a never-ending winter that's going to go into April, would be my guess. Wow, 12 inches of snow for folks. That's crazy. Well, you guys keep it. I enjoy snow, but you know what? Nope. Well, you guys can keep it. The lava lamp is not on. Yeah, that is true. That lava lamp takes about 45 hours to warm up, so we... Sometimes we forget, sometimes we remember. But by the time you remember, it better be 1 o'clock, because otherwise that thing isn't going to be on. I could use it right now. My hands are freezing. Okay, should we get to the questions? I was going to... We posted post-flight. If you're in the premium community, you will see post-flight is live. We talked about quite a few things today, including this new advanced notice of proposed rulemaking. So if you watched News Update, if you haven't watched News Update, make sure you go and watch it. I'm trying to debate what to do with that information and if we should do a more in-depth video right now about this. But I would recommend that you go read that document that was put out and that you leave a comment. We have seen industry enemies sorry, my brain is going to be a little bit slower tonight, but we've seen industry enemies posting about how joyful they were about this ANPRM. So it's not a good thing, if you ask me, and we need to be vocal. We can be way more vocal than these few people that are trying to distract the industry. So if you haven't already, go watch, not right now, stay here, but when you're done, go watch News Update and then go take a look at that document. There's about 50 questions in there that the Department of Commerce is asking information about. Now, not all 50 questions is something that you'll be able to answer, but my guess would be probably 4 or 5 of those you will be able to read. I don't know if I can say his name because he didn't allow me to, but one of our followers who's here every single week that I mention his name quite a bit when he logs in. I don't see him right now, but he sent me his response, which was very well written. He covered about 4, I think, or 5 of these questions, and very simply explaining the effect that a drone ban would have on the community. So I think it's important, and it's important that you voice your opinion. A lot of people think that these comments are useless, but they're not. We've seen this with remote ID. Although remote ID did not come out, 100% like we would have wanted it to, but at least it came out different than it went in initially. And that was because we had 56,000 people leaving comments. So I would, I would invite people to do that. Maybe we should make a video to kind of filter through all the questions that people should answer and have your voice heard about how this would affect you. A lot of the questions are, what would happen if we didn't have a DJI drone available? And I'm paraphrasing. Obviously, that's not the way that the questions are being asked, but that's really what they're asking. So I think it's our duty to let people know who are asking what we think the effect would be. And you guys are the best people to do that. Okay. All right, let's get to the questions. We already have quite a few of them. All right, Northern Drone Guy says, when you send your drone in for repair, they may send you a different drone back. That is correct. Can I use my operator's ID in that different drone? I'm guessing you're talking about your registration number. If that's the case, no, you cannot. That's kind of something that I think a lot of people don't know, is that when you get a new drone, it has a new serial number, and that new serial number needs to be added to the list. So what you need to do technically is go to the FAA Drone Zone, terminate the registration for the one that you just sent to DJI or whoever, and then create a new registration with the new remote ID, with the new serial number, and then save. Now you might be able to edit the current registration, but I don't know for sure 100%. So but that's the answer. Your current registration is only valid with the current serial number. And of course, as I'm saying this is only correct if you are flying under Part 107. I should have added that early on. Only if you are flying under Part 107. If you're flying recreationally, then you can just add that new drone to your listing. It's one registration number for all of your drones. Okay, Travis says, when it comes to drone, is there anyone that could stand up to Congress and say enough with the Joe McCarthy style fear mongering? That's a good question, Travis. I don't know. I at this stage, the folks that are detractors of this industry are set in their ways, I think for a good reason, not because it's the drone industry, not because of anything other than the people that pay their salaries. And so I don't think there's really any discussion around this. This is not really an issue about the drones. It's really an issue about lobbying. That's really what the bottom line is. That's really the bottom line. So, I mean, I hate to be negative, obviously, on this, because you would hope that you can talk to someone. I'm sure Vic would have a different approach. He's been a little bit more positive about all of these things, but I think maybe I know that our voices have been heard. The multitude of emails that has been sent to different folks has made a change in the way that their decisions are made. As far as changing the narrative of the distractors, I think that's not possible. Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. So I'm not saying that it is not possible, but I'm saying that we cannot fight it. We should fight it. I'm just saying that we cannot change the minds of the ones that are against us in this fight. I hope that makes sense. Super 8 says, how do we mark a copy of it and put a response under that part of the question? I'm pretty sure you have to submit them by email. So I would create everything in a Word document at the beginning, just so you have it, and then put the question and then put your answer. You say, hey, I'm writing in reference to a ANPRM XXXX, and then here's my answers and what I believe. And I think there is an email that I saw this morning, so I think it has to go through an email. In the past, when we've seen NPRM, which was slightly different than an ANPRM, when we've seen NPRMs, there's a form on the website that you can submit to send your comment. But in this case, I think it's just an email address. Here's a question. When a state local park forbids drone operation, clearly that affects what's done on the ground, but does it prevent me from flying over the park from an adjacent launch site? No, it doesn't, technically, Art. As long as you're maintaining visual line of sight, following all the FAA rules, and that you're taking off from a place where you're allowed to use the land, then no. With that being said, I always like to tell folks, if there was a restriction in place in that park, there could be a reason for it. I know there's not always one, that's for sure. Should we respect it? I'm going to let you decide on that. But yeah. LM forever grateful. Oh, I am forever grateful. Sorry. If you are a recreational flyer and register a drone over 249 grams, do you have to register all of your drones when you register the remote ID for that one? So if you're recreational, let me make sure I understand the question correctly first. Recreationally, you have to put a label with your registration number on all the drones that you have that are flown recreationally and that are over 250 grams, 249 grams. If those drones require registration, it also means that they need remote ID. Now, to comply with remote ID, you've got two different methods recreationally. You can have a drone that has remote ID already in it. That makes it kind of simple. Or you can use a module that you can swap between different aircraft. So in your inventory, you would have an item. Let's say you have remote ID module XYZ. You would enter that in your inventory as a remote ID module, and that remote ID module XYZ can be put on any drone that you want to fly and be compliant with, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's how you would do it for recreational. Adam says, my friend wants to show him how to use his sub 250 gram drone. Does it have to be registered to do an instructional flight? No, I really wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that. Chris Ritchie says, any new laws that have gone into effect with drones for 2025? Nope. We haven't really seen a change in regulation with the FAA in several years now. So Chris Moll says, would the Air 3S be a good drone for real estate? Yeah, absolutely. Great platform. We're actually finishing up the deep dive for that drone. It should be live pretty soon. We recorded that last week, week before, whatever. Last week just went by. I just bought a iFlight Nazgul Eco FPV drone, okay? I already have a controller for it. I just need some FPV goggles. I am kind of on a budget. but want to get a decent pair of analog goggles. What do you have for suggestions? Unfortunately, Micah, I don't know. I'm sure more folks in the chat will be able to give you a recommendation. Not really my area of expertise per se. Jason says, he left a comment for me, he said Fat Shark HDO2 with rapid fire. So that's our recommendation from our resident expert, Jason. Fat Shark has a good reputation for sure with those. Ken says, do you have to get approval to fly in a restricted area, not active, MOAs or other military areas? Can you just fly there if you had a reason? Restricted areas that are not active, you don't need permission, although be careful because these can pop active at pretty much any time. Military operating areas, MOAs, do not have a restriction either. So just be careful. Prohibited and restricted areas are the ones that you want to stay away from, and TFRs, temporary flight restrictions. But no, technically, if they're not active, you're okay to fly in there. Chris Ritchie says, don't have a UAS certificate. Is there a test for hobby status for now? What was I reading? Yes, we have what's called TRUST. It's called the Recreational Unmanned Safety Test. And that is something that we provide on behalf of the FAA. We're one of a few providers. And you can find it at trust.pilotinstitute.com. It is free to complete. It takes about 30 minutes. And it's something that you have to do before you do a recreational flight. So head over there and get that done. You'll get a little certificate at the end of it, completion certificate. Print that or have it available as a PDF. Then you're good to go. I want to fly my drone in Calico Ghost Town Regional Park. I emailed the county department asking for any rules special to that park. Do you have any tips about it? Recreational operation. I'm not familiar with it, so I would say it depends on what they're going to tell you. But go on the website for that park and see if there is any restrictions. Sometimes just the fact that you're asking, they're going to say no. But I would like to see, if there is any rules that are published on the website first. But no, I mean, just follow what they tell you, basically, for a regional park. It is possible that it is allowed. Given that CBOs are a mess, and you can say that twice, why don't they have a singular, all-encompassing rule for all SUAS? Man, that is the million-dollar question. Why are CBOs a mess? Not because of CBOs themselves. They're doing their best. I think it's a mess because of how this whole damn regulation has come to be. And I don't even know that we can be mad at the FAA for it. I think we can be mad at Congress, which is always where we should be mad anyway, because that's where all this crapola starts. But Congress decided that some set of rules have to come from community-based organizations. And, I don't know if I should say it. One of those organizations, one of those CBOs, one of the four, the one that has been around for the longest time, has lobbied pretty hard for this kind of format to be in place because it was going to be beneficial to them. And this is how we end up with a hodgepodge of rules that are impossible to follow because they all depends on what CBO you have. So why can't we have all-encompassing rule set? I don't know. That's a damn good question. We have it under Part 107. We should be able to have it for recreational usage, quite frankly. Yep. Vic says AMA lobbied for that. They did. And then they fell asleep in meetings when remote ID was around the corner. I'm sorry. I don't have a whole lot of love for what the AMA has done to this hobby over the years, primarily because they were in a position where they could have made meaningful changes, but I think they decided to make a lot of these changes that would benefit them rather than benefiting the industry or the hobby, I should say. And it's sad. It sucks. Now we do recommend two of the CBOs because I do believe they do a lot of great work. And again, it's not their fault that they have to follow the FAA guidelines in order to be approved as a CBO. But there's a reason why there's only four CBOs approved at the moment. And so Flight Test Community Association and the FPV Freedom Coalition. Those are the two CBOs that we recommend. I think they're doing a great job out there. And then the last one, sadly, I can never remember them, and I should. STEM Plus C, thank you. They're based in Arizona, and they're also a great CBO. They're more geared towards education, K through 12, if I want to say that, STEM based stuff. But I think the other two that I mentioned, they've been doing a great job. Okay. Given that, I just answered that mess of a CBO question. Do you know of any pilot flying recreationally being penalized for not knowing the safety guidelines of an FAA recognized CBO or having taken the trust test? No, I don't think so. So you got to keep in mind that, and I know people don't always believe that, but the FAA is not out there to get you. That's not their job. The FAA's job is not to issue citations. The FAA's job is to maintain the safe and efficient use of the airspace. That's their job, literally, word to word, what their mandate is. And so if they come talk to you, an FAA person comes talk to you and says, hey, what CBO guidelines are you following? And have you done trust? And you look like a deer in the headlights. They're not going to give you a citation. They're going to say, okay, well, here's an educational opportunity. Go and do trust. Go and read the CBO guidelines and pick the one that you want, and don't do it again. And that's it, really. That's literally what is going to happen. Now, if you keep doing that over and over again, and you tell the FAA, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm a rebel and I don't believe in those rules that are pretty simple, then there will be repercussions for sure. But otherwise, no. Ken says, you mentioned in the Part 107 course that you don't recommend catching your drone out of the air as opposed to landing on the ground. Do you ever do it on uneven ground? Yeah, that's usually when I do hand catching. I just don't believe in unnecessary risk, although I have friends that do it very quickly and very safely. I think there is a way to do it safely, but it is an additional risk. There's no doubt there. But there are some situations where you just can't do it otherwise. And so you should learn how to do it properly with other folks around that can help you, maybe that have experience in doing that. And but yeah, at first, for beginners, don't always recommend it. How can a CBO dictate rules that are more restrictive than the FAA, flying over occupied structures closer to 50 foot laterally from people? That's because the FAA has given them the permission, and because Congress in 49 USC 44809 has given CBOs a pathway to do that. I don't agree with it. I don't care for it, but it is what it is. I think it has made flying for recreational purposes more complicated than it needs to be. But yeah. Does the FAA allow me to follow FPV Freedom Coalition guidelines because they are more advantageous to my operation, even though I'm not flying FPV? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So you can follow any CBO. None of the CBOs really are, I mean, I shouldn't say that. Those CBO guidelines are definitely designed to be for specific type of operation, but they're not saying that if you're flying a multi-rotor or a fixed wing, you can't follow FPV Freedom Coalition, even though you're not using FPV goggles. So yeah, you can follow whatever CBO guidelines you want, whatever makes the most sense for your operation. Vito says, if I put a night strobe light on my Mini 4 Pro as a recreational flyers, and I'm flying at night and something happens to my drone, is the warranty voided because I was using a strobe light? No, not at all. Not at all. No, I don't even know what else to say, but no, not at all. I have a big project in Rhode Island, end of the month. Biggest advice I've gotten is to make sure that my batteries are warm pre-flight. That is correct. I'm going to use electronic hand warmer. Any advice and recommendation? Yeah, keep them in your jacket. You know, I'm one of those guys that doesn't really care for the cold all that much. I mean, I live outside, but I just like being cozy. So I bought one of these electric jackets from Amazon. I have two of them. I have a full full sleeve one, and I have one that's just the sleeveless kind, which is perfect around here in Prescott because most of the time it's just cold enough that you need your upper body to be warmed up, but if your arms are a little bit colder, it's fine. But both of these have a little battery pack in them, and then they'll keep you warm. So I actually used them for Halloween this year. We were out, I turned it on and it was nice and toasty. And then you can also use that to keep your batteries warm on the inside. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just put them inside of your pockets, inside of your jacket. Your body will keep your batteries pretty warm for a while. And then when they come back and they're nice and warm, put them back in there so it keeps you warm, and you can even warm up your hands. Now, you can definitely use hand warmers. Vic might have additional stuff because he does fly in Colorado in the winter. I'm sure a lot of you out there do that as well. But yeah, that would be my recommendation. Is there a study guide that I can use that's not going to cost me a ton of money to take the Part 107? I mean, you know, obviously my answer is going to be biased because this is what we do for a living. But the investment that you make in the course, our course is $159 right now. You have lifetime access, and we guarantee that you pass. And that not only that you'll pass, because passing is just one thing, but knowing something is a well worth investment to me for $159. If it means that at the end of the day, you're not going to get busted because you're not going to create damage to somebody's property because you didn't know what you were doing, then $159 is pretty cheap. And that's really the only investment. So we don't charge you anything afterwards. It comes with obviously having access to our whole community and all of that. So you can find study guides that are going to get you to do the bare minimum and pass the exam. I don't believe that that's a good thing for the industry because I want to be sharing the airspace with people that know what they're talking about. And it might sound pompous, but really, I mean, I fly airplanes too, and I don't want to be sharing the airspace with people that just got 70 on the written exam because they rehearsed a couple of questions online and then went and took the test. So I think it's an education to become an aviator rather than becoming just a drone operator. And then I was going to add something else. Oh, yeah. I look at the data every year. How many people fail the exam every year? This is public knowledge from the FAA, not very difficult to find. They haven't posted 2024 yet, but 2023, 2022, 2021, and 2020, I've looked at all of those. I know how many courses we sell. I know how many people we train every year. I know how many people fail taking our class. I have a pretty decent idea of how many of our competitors are selling courses and probably roughly how much. I can make an educated guess. And when you put that all into account and you look at how many people fail, 1 in 3 people, a third, 33% of people that self-study fail the exam. A third of all people, and this is a conservative estimate on my part. This is a conservative estimate on my part. You always see people saying, I self-studied and I passed, but you never see the people that say, I self-studied and I failed, because nobody's going to, do it, except they tell us when they come and join us, and that's fine. Thanks for doing that. They said, I tried by myself and I failed. And then now I took the course, and then within a couple of weeks, I passed with a 95% or 97%. Couldn't have done it without you. So, we've trained close to 110,000 people now to take this exam. Almost a quarter of all remote pilots in the country have been trained by us, which is amazing. So I would, that was a long answer. I'm sorry. I went on a soapbox, but I would definitely recommend taking a test, a course, even if it's not ours, but be careful who teaches the course, their credentials. If it's really, really cheap, there's probably a good reason. If it's $59, it's probably worth $59. And if they don't guarantee that you pass, it's probably a red flag. So just be careful with that. Find at least somebody who guarantees that you're going to pass with their course, if it's not ours. Whew. Cascade Drone Services says, in the leaked images of the Mavic 4 Pro, can anyone point out to the sensor for obstacle avoidance? I don't see anything obvious. I haven't, you know what? I need to look at them closely. Oh, you did? Thank you, Ethan. Ethan says he slacked me a picture. Oh, yeah, they're in the front. So they're very similar to what we've seen on the Mavic 3 series, on the Air 3 series, pretty much everything up until the Air 3S has had these kind of sensors on the edges, the little eyes that are looking on the side, kind of, looking at a 45-degree angle. That's your obstacle avoidance. I am surprised not to see any kind of obstacle avoidance on the of a LiDAR type like we've seen on the Air 3S, which is the one that just came out. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, from the pictures that I've seen, I don't know if Ethan can show the pictures that I'm looking at, but it's basically those two little eyes in the corner. That's what we've seen. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to, okay, let me do that again. I'm going through your class right now. Test is scheduled for the next Monday. Awesome. I'm already doing well in practice test. Thanks for a great class. You're very welcome, James. You've got this. You've got this. I have my 107 and mostly fly under those rules. I have a remote ID module for my Neo. I registered my remote ID module. How does the FAA know that it is for my Neo? So when you register the Neo, that's where, under part 107, that's where you register, that's where you add the module information. So any drone that is not remote ID compliant natively, aka a standard remote ID drone, that's what it's called, you need to add remote ID information via a module. So when it's asking you, is it remote ID compliant? I think I don't remember the specific wording in the text in there, but you have to answer those questions and then put that it's using a module to do that. Chris says, any tips on purchasing a used drone, person-to-person transaction? Person-to-person is definitely the only way that I would do it. I would look at the batteries very closely, see how puffed up they might be, see if they took great care of them or if they're bloated, in which case they're going to be unusable. Take a look at the flight time, and I think you can still find the battery charge time in the DJI Fly app, although I think that is dependent on aircraft now. I miss the old Go4 app from DJI that had a lot more information about all this stuff, but you should be able to find the flight time for those batteries and see if it matches what they tell you. I mean, just ask, hey, how many hours does this have? They should be pretty open about it to tell you. And then just do a thorough inspection, visual inspection of the drone. You'll see if there's scratches, if the lenses have been taken care of, if there's any dust, any dirt. Obviously, you should be expecting some wear and tear. Make sure that the drone comes out with all the accessories that it came out with initially. But yeah, it's all about a visual inspection. Fly it, see how it flies, see if it will fly at least at the edge of visual line of sight to make sure that the transmitter is doing okay, and make sure it doesn't sound weird. You'll know quickly if there's an imbalance in one of the motors, for example. It's going to make kind of like a wow, wow, wow sound where it's kind of out of frequency. But yeah, that's about it. It makes the sound that Ben makes in the morning when he doesn't have coffee yet. Ben must be busy. Vic says, have them fly the drone first. That's a good one. See kind of how they operate. It will tell you a lot about somebody watching them fly a drone for sure. My DJI RC seems pretty slow at running the software. Is there any way to update the DJI RC software on the controller? Yeah, there are updates. What you want to look for, so DJI RC, I don't know if you have the RC Pro, the RC1, the original one, but there was one version, I don't remember if it's the Pro or the one before the Pro, the original smart controller, that would build up a bunch of junk files on the memory, and it would fill up the hard drive, if you want, the SSD, the internal memory of the controller, and then it would run slow, just like your computer would run slow if it doesn't have a whole lot of hard drive space left. And so you would have to kind of go and clean it up. So I don't know, depending on the actual model. Yeah. Yep. So I didn't realize we gave Ben access to the main account. All right. Just got here. Any changes coming to line of sight rules in the United States? Potentially. potentially. There are rumors of a notice of proposed rulemaking coming out soon to an FAA office nearby called Part 108, possibly. We don't know a whole lot about it. There's a lot of speculation, but I don't think anybody except the folks in that office know very much about what's going on with that. So we kind of have to wait. It is designed to make beyond visual line of sight operation more routine. I think that's the goal. So we shall see. Greenhorn FPV says, what are the regulation on SUAS that weigh less than 30 grams? There's no such category. So the FAA looks at all drones, regardless of the weight, 10 grams, 5 grams, up to 55 pounds, as the same rules apply. So either Part 107, if you're doing non-recreational things, and if you're doing recreational rules, then you follow 49 USC 44809. And I need to add that recreational rules apply to drones that are bigger than 55 pounds. The 55 pounds limit is for Part 107 primarily. But with that being said, doesn't matter the size of the drone, and it probably should. A 30-gram drone is not going to do much damage, but it is technically, to the eyes of the FAA, the same as a 250-gram drone, as a 1 kilo drone, as a 2 kilo drone. It doesn't really matter. Michael says the PSI testing center in Riverside, California currently charges $175 for the exam. When was this fee increase implemented? Long time ago, Michael. It's been several years now since PSI, hate to say this, when I started in aviation, PSI wasn't even in existence. It was a different testing. There were 2 testing providers back then, which helped because then the cost was only $50 because we had a battle between 2 providers that you could choose from. And then eventually one absorbed the other, and PSI became the only name in town, and they had a FAA controlled monopoly, and they still do, which means that they can do whatever they want with pricing. So over the years, they've increased the pricing. It went from, I think when we started the business, it was $140. I think it was we just found an old brochure that had an old pricing on it, and then it went to $150, and then it went to $155, and then $165. Well, I think it was $150, $165, $175, and it's been at $175 for a while. But they have made changes lately, like a year or so ago, to the testing providers. They cut down massively how much money they're giving back to the actual testing centers, and it didn't go well. A lot of them retaliated and quit, basically. And so not pretty. My guess, if you want to hear my guess, probably don't, but is that we see another increase in that fee this year. And we've been doing this since 2019, and our pricing went up $10 last year. Went from $149 to $159. In the meantime, PSI has gone up way more than that. I think it's sad when the testing is more expensive than the actual training that you receive to go to the test. Hiking, if I end up above an inversion layer in the valley, can I fly technically above the clouds even though I'm well clear of them? Is the layer of fog, and do the same rules apply to both? You cannot. So here's what the FAA would tell you. How can you guarantee that you're not flying over people and or moving vehicles if you can't see the ground? So that's the reason why the FAA in Advisory Circular 107-1 says that you cannot fly over clouds. Yep, that's the answer. Chris Ritchie says, come January 21, what will the TFR look like at around Mr. Biden's area? I live close by there and getting sick and tired of all these TFRs. As soon as he's no longer active president, he no longer has the same VIP TFR access. So he will it is possible that they might create a permanent restriction over his house, but it will be a lot smaller than what we have seen, when he travels. The downside is whoever the next president is and wherever they're based, that's the next part of the country that is going to suffer for the next 4 years, because that's what happens every 4 years. I've heard this for the last 20 years, people complaining that when the president travels, it shuts down their operation. We heard it from flight schools in West Palm Beach, 4 years ago, that just couldn't operate because they just can't fly when the president is in town for the weekend. So, and that's not being political. I think it's more or less an issue with TFRs, the way that TFRs are being created. I think there's a big overhaul that needs to happen with VIP TFRs. They need to be smaller for drones, quite frankly. They were created and put in place so that a manned aircraft could not enter one of those and without getting shut down by the time that they got to where the center of the TFR is. It's not the case for a drone that flies at a fraction of the speed. And okay. Chris says, does being an AOPA member and an EAA member help with testing fees with PSI? PSI is not giving discounts to anyone. So you pay $175 or you pay $175 or you pay $175 or you don't take the test. That's kind of the name of the game. We do give discounts to military personnel, by the way, so because we're not greedy. How does New Jersey local towns get away with putting restrictions in the air? Because they're doing it in conjunction with the FAA. So those TFRs are being put up in the air not without the approval from the FAA. Yes, Bem says former presidents have a small TFR around their house, 1.5 miles from the house. Yep, that's about right. That's about right. Long Beach Town says this township ordinance dictate that you may not, I'm having to read sideways and I don't like it. You may not fly your drone within any airspace below 400 feet off the ground and structure within the township. Please email me, Jay. They're not allowed to do this. Oh, I'm sorry. Jay's question was a two-part question. I thought I read the question, but so let's rewind a little bit. I think when you said New Jersey local towns get away with putting restrictions in the air, I thought you were talking about the TFRs that get put in recently. You were talking about Long Beach Town that is prohibiting access below 400 feet. That is not legal. We actually just, one of you guys reached out to me and sent an email. We work with Vic at DSPA to send an email back to the township, and they said that they were sending it to their team, to their legal team to review. So please do the same. Send me an email, contact@pilotinstitute.com, and then I will get with Vic, and then Vic will use his beautiful skills at writing to people and telling them they're wrong, but in a very, very nice way. Something that I'm not always capable of doing. Okay. Okay, let's see. What about add wheels instead of landing gear to your drone? Can it be done? Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't really understand the reason why, but yeah, there's no reason not to do that. How long do you... Okay, guys, you have to write better. How long to you deliver a free drone registration sticker in Northwest Phoenix? So right now, the employee who's in charge of doing the stickers has been out for a week. He just came back to a whole bunch of them. He's been here all afternoon, well, all morning actually as well, catching up on stickers. So if you requested a sticker in the last week, it's going to be slightly delayed, but I'm sure in the next couple of days he will be caught up. Otherwise, it takes us a couple of days. By the time we get it, we do those every day, the stickers. So we've done over 50,000 of them. I think Jason said a couple days ago, over 50,000 of them. We were going to do 10,000 and then stop. And then people loved them, so we kept going. So, yeah. Does flying in the cold cause issues for the drone other than the battery longevity? Possibly. So, depending on the humidity level, you have to be careful with getting propeller icing on your propellers. And if you get propeller icing, you will lose lift and the drone will crash. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it's not looking good so far, but that we are able to use the waiver that we've had for several years now, where we are allowed to fly into the clouds locally and be able to get a demo of what propeller icing would look like. That would be fun. Best method for avoiding bird attack on a drone. Don't fly near birds. Sorry, had to say it. No, but if you see them attacking, the one thing that birds have a difficult thing doing is climbing quickly. Your drone is able to climb quickly vertically. Birds typically are not. They're allowed to descend very quickly to attack a prey, but climbing quickly is not something that is easy to do. So I would say, yeah, pay attention. If you see a lot of birds, just seriously go to a different area. They might be just defensive, that you might be in their little territory that they've decided is their territory. So, yep. When using RTH on the Mini 4 Pro, do the settings on optical avoidance apply? It depends on how you have it set up, William. There's different ways of doing RTH. One of them uses the settings. Now, I don't remember the exact wording in the settings, but go to your RTH settings, and I think it will explain it quickly. Also, we talk about this in news update. Why is Ben bringing toilet paper? Are you going to TP me?
Kleenex.
Oh, Kleenex. Has there been or will there be an SDK release for the Mavic 3 series drone? There is an SDK already for those. And the Pilot 2, is Pilot 2 the only option? No, all the enterprise drones from DJI have an SDK, and there's quite a few options to control your drone with different platforms. Is there an easy way to read NOTAMs, especially TFRs? TFRs, really go to the TFR website, tfr.fa.gov, and you'll see the TFRs there. You can watch them in a map view and see them pretty easily. Another place where it's easy to see them is using skyvector.com. Although Skyvector is not an official place where you should be checking for TFRs. But if you see it on the TFR website, 99% chance that it's going to be on Skyvector. Sorry, my back is itching and I got to itch it. There you go. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Do you need to get lance authorization if the drone is less than 0.55 pounds? Yep. Regardless of the size of the drone, all these rules apply. The only rule that does not apply to drones under 55 pounds, under 250 grams, 0.55 pounds, is the registration rule if you fly recreationally. All the other rules apply. All the other rules apply. Super 8 says, are you in a new building yet? No, not yet. I'm hoping to get really good news tomorrow. So light up a candle for us and let's hope that we get some good news tomorrow. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. New drone flyer, I was amazed at both how both exhilarating and frightening my first flights were. How long does the terror go? How long before the terror goes away? I think it depends on the person. It is definitely nerve-wracking the first time. I remember I had bought a drone and I was, we have a lot of really cool terrain around here, and I used to be a very avid runner, and I would take the mini drone with me and fly it over like big cliffs, and it's kind of weird at first to do that. Actually, it wasn't even the mini; it was the original Mavic Pro, and it's just weird at first when you go fly it. I think it just becomes, once you've done it a couple times, you realize, hey, this thing is going to fly regardless of what's underneath it, and then you're okay. I have a NEO registered under Part 107 with the Potensic Remote ID module. Is this all I need to fly over people as a Cat 1? No, you do not. So, well, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Stand by. NEO. I thought I read something else. Yes, the NEO, you have the Potensic Remote ID module. Make sure you read the rules as to what you can do flying over people with Part 107 under Category 1. But yes, that you are compliant. Absolutely. Vic says, if the terror goes away completely, you're overconfident. Shit, maybe I am. Sandy Perez says, oh no, I just read that. I'm sorry. Ooh. Is it almost 5? It is almost 5. Look at us. I'm sure you've explained this in the past. How does the FAA view the use of a remote ID module on a home-built UAV for Part 107 use? After multiple discussions with the FAA on this, it's the best possible method of being compliant. They would rather see you do that than nothing else. So I would say go for it. Practicing Photography says, have you tested obstacle avoidance with really small tree branches? How good is obstacle avoidance for things that are very thin? Typically not great. These are what we call ghost branches, and ghost branches have a tendency to take down your drone. So be careful, especially right now in the winter. You know, if you might live in an area that has a lot of, thanks Scott, a lot of leafy trees that may lose their leaves, then you might end up with a lot of ghost branches. But otherwise, yeah, don't be overconfident with the obstacle avoidance system. Personally, here's the way that I view obstacle avoidance system. It's a backup. It's a last minute resort. It's not something that I'm going to rely on at all. It's something that's there in case of stuff hitting the fan. There you go. Aerial Nation says, Kevin from Brenton, Florida, 2 miles from Sarasota Airport, Mini 4 Pro, Class C airspace. I need to use an app to ask authorization for to approve flight restrictions. Yes, you need to do 2 things. I'm guessing you're flying a DJI drone. So Kevin, you need to, maybe Jason can put a link in the description to the video that we made on that. But we made a video explaining the difference between FAA approval and DJI approval. DJI will provide you approval. Doesn't mean that the FAA provides you approval. So depending on how close you are to the Sarasota airport, it's best to go to the link that Jason is going to put in the description. That is going to help you download an app that's called Aloft Air Control. And an Aloft Air Control will allow you to look up that specific area, tell you how high you can get approved by the FAA, which is what's important here. And then after that, you'll be able to get approval from DJI to fly in that area if there's a restriction from DJI. But always keep in mind, DJI approval is not the same as FAA approval. Okay? Not the same as FAA approval. What is going on back there? Gary says, I find that if I fly too high and turn my attention to the display, I lose sight of the drone. That's right. That's because you were too far. That's because you were too far. If you look at the drone, you look down and you look up again, you technically lost visual line of sight. So that means you were too far. So with experience, you will learn that a certain distance means that you'll learn how far is too far. Let's put it this way. Okay. One thing that you can do is you can climb up and down a little bit, and then you can move sideways just to see if you can catch the drone moving on the horizon. But yeah, it means that you just went a little too far. Are you already using the DJI Mavic 4 Enterprise? That's a tricky question. Can't tell you. We can't, obviously, if we are using drones that are not released, we're not allowed to talk about them. So the only answer I can say is no. But yep, we're not allowed to talk about that. That's what NDAs are for. By the way, the Mavic 4, I think the Mavic 4 non-enterprise is a little ways ahead. The Mavic 4 Enterprise might be coming out first. That's just my gut feeling. We'll see. Want to clarify, if your drone does not fall under any of the categories, can you not legally cross a freeway even if you have the SUS certificate? Correct. You cannot fly, well, okay. You cannot fly over, you cannot cross a freeway that has moving vehicles. The freeway in itself is not the issue. The moving vehicles is the issue. So the FAA says you cannot fly over people or people in moving vehicles unless you have a categorized drone, period. It doesn't matter if it's a one-time transition. And I know some YouTubers have talked about in one of their videos saying that you're allowed to do that. Unfortunately, they can't read the rules. Don't trust them. But no, you cannot. If you read the regulation, it's very clear. You can only fly over people and people in moving vehicles, regardless of how quickly you do it, if you have a categorized drone and if you have Part 107. Did I hear you say I must get lance approval to fly in my own yard? Yep, correct. Your own yard doesn't really mean much as far as airspace is concerned. As soon as you take off, that becomes FAA airspace regardless of where you are. Aircraft can still fly over your own yard at whatever altitude. So that's why you need to get approval. It's all about wherever you are at that time. If there's an airspace approval required, you need to get airspace approval. The good news is it's very easy. You can get it through immediate authorization via Lance with the FAA. That's it. So, yeah. Grumpy Cat says, why would people fly at night and how do they keep line of sight? Flying at night is tricky, you know. Well-lit aircraft would be my recommendation, and flying a very short distance. You can't fly very far at night and continue to have visual line of sight. Can you fly at night recreationally with a sub-250 DJI drone not registered? Yes, you can. Absolutely. You need to have a flashing light, a beacon on top of your drone, strobe light that is visible from 3 statute miles. That is one of the requirements. And you need to make sure that when you put that on top of your drone, it doesn't put it over 250 grams, because if it does, now it's a drone that needs to be registered. And if it's registered, it needs to have remote ID. So just be careful with that. It has implications, unfortunately. All right. Well, we have made it, folks. It is 4:57. I am getting, not going to lie, pretty tired. I got to go get some medicine before I get home. So I will see you all on Friday for news updates, hopefully with some good news on the building. And then in the meantime, if you're watching this after it went live, don't yell at me for introducing everyone. Just skip a couple seconds to where the question starts, and then all will be fine. Also, go watch News Update now that we're done. Go watch News Update from this Friday, and then download that ANPRM and read up on the questions that you can answer. It's going to take you a little while, but it's good homework, and it's a good thing to do. And then in the meantime, we're going to possibly work on a video to do that. Possibly even with Vic. I saw that he commented that he wanted to do it with me. I think that would be great. So, all right, folks, see you next time. Fly safe.